Say now. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Hello. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Fantastic. Very, very, very excited. Preparing for the holiest and highest Chag of the year. The holiest and highest, most spiritual festival of the year kicks off this week. Now, obviously, if we were just before Pesach, I'd give the same introduction. And we were just before Rosh Hashanah as well. But for now, and that's how it works, by the way. Time goes in a spiral. There's a beginning. So every year, everything gets higher. So Hanukkah this year is the highest. And then Tu B'Shvat's going to be higher. And Pesach's going to be higher. And Shavuot. We just keep going higher and higher in spiritual energy. So we've got to understand Hanukkah though. Because between Rosh Hashanah, basically we got Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot. Yeah, you can. So between Sukkot and Pesach, that's 6 months, there's no festivals from the Torah. It's amazing. We're into the winter, into the dark times, and there are no festivals in the Torah. All of the festivals on the Torah, Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, is all in that half of the year. And then we've got half a year no festivals from the Torah. But we have these 2 festivals, the rabbinic festivals, Hanukkah and Purim. And according to our Kabbalistic sages, because they're rabbinic, they're actually on a higher spiritual level than the Torah ones. Now, how can that make sense? How does that make sense? Do you think the rabbis were just so egotistical that they said, well, the festivals we made up are greater than the festivals God made up? Do you think that's what happened? I don't think so either. So this is the Jewish understanding of life. Based on a famous midrash, the Roman general Turnus Rufus, he said to Rabbi Akiva, what's better, what's greater, what's holier, the work of God or the work of man? Work of God or work of man? Now God's perfect, man's imperfect. So what's greater, the work of God or the work of man? God created you with a foreskin. He basically was very against circumcision. And the Romans and the Greeks were very into physicality and architecture and culture and Olympic Games, and that was their world, academia. So they didn't like circumcision. So he says to Rabbi Akiva, what's better, the work of God or the work of man? So Rabbi Akiva said to him, well, what would you rather eat, wheat or bread? Don't mess with Rabbi Akiva. Now, wheat is the work of God. Bread is the work of? No. Wheat is the work of God. Bread is the work of? Pardon? No. Wheat is the work of God. Bread is the work of? Partnership between God and man. Because with no wheat, there's no bread. With no intelligence, there's no bread. With no your heart beating and your lungs working, there's no bread. So my Shabbos table, my wife's getting a bit sick of it, so I've stopped doing it. But before we used to bench, I said, before we thank Hashem, I think Hashem is thanking my wife. Why is Hashem thanking my wife for the Shabbos meal? Because Hashem does not make homemade hummus or teriyaki salmon. Now Hashem probably could, but He doesn't. So He relies on us. Does Hashem want us to have a good Shabbos meal? Is He going to make a good Shabbos meal? No. So Hashem's relying on us to have a great Shabbos meal. So Hashem's thanking us. Baruch Ad Ariana. Hashem's singing, but it's a real thing. The whole of creation is a partnership between God and the Jewish people, at least. Really, the God and the whole of humanity. So now we get a little bit of an understanding why the rabbinic festivals of Hanukkah and Purim are on a higher level than the Torah festivals. Because the Torah festivals, Hashem says, just you do these things, and we do, which is very cute. I like that, it's very nice. But the rabbinic festivals are, no, let's do a partnership. I want you to take the foundations that I gave you, and I want you to make them better. I want you to create something with what I gave you. It's even yourself, by the way. At the beginning of the Torah, it says, Na'aseh Adam. Let us make man. So who's God speaking to when he says, let us make man? So one answer is angels, whatever that means, powers. But the Baal Shem Tov says, he's talking to us. Let us make you. I'm going to give you good character traits, bad character traits, good situations, bad situations. I'm going to give you the material that you need. But then you have to take that and create yourself. You have to become a great person. So you are a partnership between God and you. You're a partnership between God and you. This, by the way, we did speak about it last week, is why we refer to Hashem as He. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, obviously we speak to Hashem feminine as well, Modim Anachnu Lach, and there are many times when we refer to Hashem in the feminine, but refer to Hashem in the masculine because of this process. In the process of procreation, the man gives the seed, and the woman takes the seed and develops it into a child. That's the partnership between the man and the woman. But the man is just gives the raw material. The woman takes the raw material, turns it into a child. So too in creation, Hashem gave the raw material, the wheat, and we have to take the wheat and we turn it into bread. So the relationship between God and human in terms of creation, God is the masculine force and we're the feminine force. We take what God gave us and develop it. By the way, who's more important in the development of the child, the man or the woman? Now, the man's essential, but in the creation of a child, who plays the more involved and important role? The woman. Clearly, there's a lot going on in there. The child is developing within the woman. The man doesn't do that much, to be fair. I'm not sure if you know how it works. I'm sorry. Don't do that much. He goes out in the middle of the night to buy the ice cream, but there's not a lot going on there for the man. So the woman is more important in the act of procreation. So who's more important in life? God or man? God or human? We're more important. Now we couldn't survive without, there'd be no child without the man. But in the process, we're actually, and it has to be that by that with that. It has to be that, because what's the point of creation if we're not going to be more important than God? Now there's no creation without God, but we're bringing God's plan into fruition. That's very, very important. There's the partnership. If we don't do our job, then Hashem's plan isn't going to happen. Isn't that awesome? Hashem's plan not going to happen. Hashem didn't need to create it like that, by the way. Hashem could just recreate and start again. But Hashem basically created a partnership where He needs us to do stuff in order to. And the ultimate thing is to bring godliness into the world. I do share this in every single class, but there are new people. I just have to share it one more time. Sorry if you heard it 17 times. Bereshis 24:7. Abraham is sending Eliezer to get a wife for his son Yitzhak. And he says to Eliezer, this is in 24:3, says to Eliezer, swear to me by the God of the heavens and the God of the earth that you won't get a Canaanite woman for my husband, for my son. And then 4 lines later he says, God of the heavens who took me from my father's house. So in verse number 3 it says God of the heavens and God of the earth. In verse number 7 it just says God of the heavens, not God of the earth. What's going on? So Rashi says, Abraham was saying basically that when he took me from my father's house, he was the God of the heavens, but not God of the earth. Because I hadn't taught anyone about him. Only after Abraham taught everyone about God. Imagine you've got everyone on the face of the planet, no one recognizes Hashem. Is Hashem the God of the earth? No. Now obviously Hashem's everywhere and keeping everything. But if no one recognizes Hashem as the king, then he's not the king. So Abraham brought God into the world. Amazing. God brought Abraham into the world. Abraham brought God into the world. It's my daughter's birthday today. 13 years old. I have a teenage daughter. Everyone asks me to give parenting classes and I always say, no, I don't have a teenager yet. From today, parenting class I can give. But I didn't exactly bring her into the world, but I had something to do with it. But she made me a father today. This is my 13th year of being a father. Mother, happy birthday to me. Happy father birthday to me. So she created me as a father. So too with us and Hashem. Hashem creates us, but then we create Hashem, being the Father, as long as we recognize Hashem. So now we understand why the rabbinical festivals are on a much higher spiritual level, because it's a partnership. And we really see this because there are 7 main festivals. Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hanukkah, Purim. 7 main festivals, and there are 7 liquids that our sages mentioned. Do you know the 7 liquids? Anyone want to guess? Do we have time? I'll just tell you them. There's blood, water, tal, dew, blood, water, dew, honey, milk, wine, oil. Those are the 7 things. So they match up to the festivals. Do you want to play the game? Pesach, blood. Shavuot, milk. Rosh Hashanah, honey. Yom Kippur, tal is dew, is the most spiritual of them. Sukkot's water, it's the water libation. Hanukkah, oil. Purim, wine. So out of those 7 liquids, 2 of them are man-made, human-made. Which ones are they? Oil and wine. So that's why they go with Hanukkah and Purim. Oil and wine, Hanukkah and Purim. And they're the holiest of the one. The oil, we have oil in the temple, we have wine in the temple. Oil represents light, of course. Wine represents holiness, Kedusha. So we bring the light and the holiness into the world. That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do. That's our whole purpose, to bring light and holiness into the world. So it's a very, very, very big, exciting festival. And our sages say, the more hachana you do, the more preparation you do, the more you're going to get from the festival. The more you understand. Now, preparation comes in 2 ways. One is to understand what it's all about. If you don't understand what's going to start happening on Wednesday night, then you're not going to get the most out of it. Now, if you don't understand American football, you're not going to enjoy the Super Bowl. The more you understand about it, and the linebacker and the quarterback and the different moves and the rivalry between the teams, the more you understand, the more you get out of it. The second thing is yearning. There's understanding, which is your head, yearning, which is your heart. That's how you prepare for something. In fact, the word hachana, preparation, is the same gematria, numerical value as moach velev, head and heart. Because you've got to get your head and heart. Now, are you very, 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 very excited for Wednesday night? Or are you just like, yeah, whatever, we'll get there, and I'll like. That's not how it should be. Have you ever been to a concert, or a sports game, or something, or a prom, or a something, and you're excited, you got tickets a month before, and you're like, I got tickets, I'm going. So excited, like counting down the days, it's like, I can't wait. Do you feel like that for Hanukkah? You're like, and not for Sufganiyot, by the way. If you're excited to eat a donut, like, come on. Are you very excited? Have you bought your Hanukkah? Are you ready? You're not going to set it up the second before. Okay. Oh, I just got to. You got to be. Maybe tomorrow we're going to go into the whole actual procedure of what's going to be happening. What intentions you should have as you pour the oil into the glasses, and the wick, and the light, and what's really going. We'll do that tomorrow, and where we light it, and why we light it, and we'll do that tomorrow. But for now, we should be at least yearning and excited. I'm very excited. I led the davening. I actually did Shachris in one place and Musaf in the other place yesterday. And for Eitz Chaim Hi, before we closed the Aran, I did Eitz Chaim Chi Lemachazich Ma'oz. Because I think people just weren't, and it takes you a while to think, what is that tune? And then you realize, so you got the energy. Now the energy of every festival starts coming in 30 days before the festival. So the energy of Hanukkah has already been starting to come in. So we're building up to this amazing energy. So what is Hanukkah all about? So every single festival is a different pipeline into divine energy coming into the world, basically. There's a divine energy that's coming into the world. Everything is a portal into God consciousness. The purpose of life, basically, is deep, personal, palpable relationship with Hashem. Not connection to Hashem. Why not connection to Hashem? Because you're already connected to Hashem. Are you connected to Hashem?
Yes.
Are you connected to Hashem? What about some Jew living in some random place, doesn't know he's Jewish, eats pig on Yom Kippur, is he connected to Hashem? Yes. You can't not be connected. And everyone's connected to Hashem. Hashem's infinite. Hashem is infinite consciousness. You can't not be connected to Hashem. So really, everything we're doing is to help us feel, internalize, connect, to be aware of that connection to Hashem. It's called das, by the way. You have to know Hashem means you have to have intimate awareness. You have the intimate awareness of Hashem. So the power that's being flooded into creation on Pesach is the power of freedom. Zman cheretenu. Freedom from your slavery, basically. That's what the whole story is talking about. We were slaves in Egypt. And this power of freedom. Now, why is it called Zman cheretenu, the time of our freedom? Is it because we got out of Egypt? No, it's the other way around. We got out of Egypt because that was the time of our freedom. From the beginning of creation, Hashem put certain energies into the world. So every year on the 15th of Nisan, there's this immense energy coming into the world called freedom. That's why we say that Avram ate matzah on Pesach. How did Avram eat matzah on Pesach? Because he sensed this energy of freedom coming into the world. So then eventually, when we got out of Egypt, had to be on the 15th of Nisan, because that's when the energy of freedom is pumped into the world. Always. So the energy of Rosh Hashanah. What's the energy of Rosh Hashanah? Recreation. Rosh Hashanah is the creation of human. So it's an amazing opportunity to tap into recreating yourself. Who do I really want to be? Lots of people come up to me and say, Rabbi, I'm trying to figure out who I am. I say to them, it doesn't matter who you are. Work out who you want to be, and then work on being that. I don't care who you are. Work out what you want to be. Now, obviously, you have to know a bit about who you are in order to become who you want to be. But your goal isn't to work out who you are. It's who you want to become. That's what creation is all about. And the energy pumping into creation on Sukkot is the energy of emunah-based simcha. The simcha of having emunah. That's what Sukkot's all about. We leave our house in the shades of the Tzila Dehem Nusa, of the Schag. So what's the energy that came at the very beginning of creation that's pumping into the world for Hanukkah? What's this amazing energy? It's the energy of light. The 25th word of the Torah is Vayi Or, is light. And obviously that's why Hanukkah starts on the 25th of Kislev. There's no coincidence going on here. 25th of Kislev, obviously there are 25 letters in the phrase Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, which is how the Hashmonayim won the war. Maybe we'll get into that later. And there's 24 letters in Baruch Shem Kavod Malchato Le'olam Va'ed, which is the 24 days leading up to it. So there's reasons, but the 25th word in the Torah is light. Now, you have to understand, when we say energy, energy is light. That's what energy is. The whole universe. What is the universe made of? The universe is made of this light. Hashem said, let there be light. This table, what's it made of? Wood. What's wood made of? What are atoms made of? Protons, neutrons, electrons. What are they made of? Quarks. Quantum physics. You've got to learn quantum physics. Quantum physics is basically coming along now to prove what our sages have been saying for 4,000 years. So basically, this table and your face are actually made of the same thing. All the elements you learn in, I don't know if you learn in school, do they do it anymore? The elemental table. And you've got the Fe as iron and H2O. And so all of that is just an external expression. It's all made up really of consciousness. Ultimately, we have this big question. Where does consciousness come from? Consciousness can't evolve from animals. So consciousness is primary. If you're very, very interested in this, you look up Professor Donald Hoffman on YouTube. Amazing, coming to mathematically prove that the universe is actually made up of consciousness, which we've been saying all the time when we say Kulam b'chokhma asita. Ma rabu ma'asecha. Hashem, how great are your deeds? Kulam b'chokhma asita. Simple translation, you made everything with intelligence. But deeper translation is you made it with chokhmah. It's made of consciousness. Everything's made. So the material universe doesn't really exist. This is a very external expression of consciousness. That's what's really going on. So energy is light. So the light that's being pumped into the world on Pesach is the light of freedom. And the light that's being pumped into the world on Rosh Hashanah is the light of renewal. And the light that's being pumped into the world on Sukkot is the light of Simcha. And the light that's being pumped into the world on Hanukkah is the light of light. It's the light of light. That's okay. There's a very big lights happening here. That's why we're increasing our lights every day. We're increasing. Hillel obviously says you increase. You go from one, start with one. Find your internal, find light. And then spread it to the world around you. Shammai says the opposite. We'll talk about this tomorrow maybe. But Shammai says you light 8 on the first night, 7, 6, because he says you've got to find light in everything, but then bring it down and say there's really only one. It's just Yichud. It's just Hashem. That's what. Maybe we'll talk about that more tomorrow. So it's the light of light. A very powerful light coming. We get to tap into that original light that was in creation. So when Hashem says, and God said, let there be light. What light was that? When God said, let there be light. The sun was created on which day? Do you know what day the sun was created on? The 4th day. So it wasn't sunlight. The sun was only created on the 4th day. So it's the Or Ein Sof. Our sages call it the Or Ein Sof, the emanation of God's infinite light. Yes.
Is that the same one as Oreganos?
The Or Ein Sof was then hidden and therefore called the Oreganos. It was hidden. By the way, that light was created, then Hashem hid it because it was very powerful, and then created the rest of physical reality through the light though. Everything's created through that light. But then he brought it back into the world to create Adam and Eve. Because your neshama, your soul, is a finite expression of that infinite light. When we say Chelek Elokam Mimal Mamash, that you are literally a piece of Hashem, what does that mean, that you're a piece of Hashem? It means you have a finite aspect of His infinite light. So that infinite Or Ein Sof, that light was brought back into the world on Friday morning, Yom Shishi in the morning, to create Adam and Chava. And it stayed in the world for the whole of Friday. That's 12 hours for the rest of Friday. Then they made their mistake in the Garden of Eden, which they were only like 6 hours old. But then Hashem says, right, I'm going to have to remove this light, but Shabbos is coming, so I'm going to keep the light in the world for Shabbos. So then the light was there for the whole of Shabbos, our sages teaches us, so that's 24 hours. So that light was in the world for 36 hours. Adam and Eve were in Gan Eden, in this paradise spiritual, basking in God's spiritual light for 36 hours. And then Motzi Shabbos, that light was taken away. By the way, that's why we then use a candle on Motzi Shabbos. Because Adam and Eve, they felt the lacking of that light. And Hashem says, don't worry, taught them how to make fire. That's a whole different story. So we know that Adam and Chava were in the Garden of Eden for 36 hours. The light was in the world for 36 hours. So how many candles do you light on Hanukkah? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. It's 36 lights, 36 candles. That's one for each hour that this spiritual light was in the world. So obviously our sages teach us that that light is being pumped into the world. And whether your eyes can see it or not, your neshama can see that light coming out of the candles. That candle has that light in it. So we know, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but the real mitzvah, apart from lighting the candles, is to look at them. You're meant to sit and look at your candles for half an hour. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Why? In order to reconnect your soul. It feeds your soul with that immense, beautiful spiritual light. That's it. So that's our avoda. Tap into this spiritual light that's coming. How do you receive the light? You got to create a vessel. Hashem's pumping down this amazing light into creation, and you need a vessel to be able to receive the light. So what is the vessel to receive the light? Ratzon is an immense desire. We know that Ratzon is the same letters as Tzinor, which is a pipeline, and Hashem's pumping down the light into these pipelines. So the bigger your Ratzon, the more you want it and yearn for it, the bigger your Tzinor, the bigger your pipeline to receive it. But still at the bottom of I just gave a class about Tzitzit this morning, and one of the students said, I understand that it's to make you remember Hashem all the time, remember the mitzvahs, it's the ultimate mitzvahs, reminding you of all the mitzvahs. And why it's my favorite mitzvah, tzitzit, is because you don't have to wear a four-cornered garment. The mitzvah is, if you wear a four-cornered garment, you have to have tzitzit. That's a mitzvah. But you don't have to wear a four-cornered garment. So you can get out of it. Some people get out of mitzvahs. I'm not going to wash, because then I'll have to bench. What? I'm only going to wash so I get to bench. Why are you trying to get out of it? I'm pater. I don't have to do it. People are trying to get out of doing mitzvahs. But mitzvahs are the tzinor, they're the pipeline to connect to Hashem. So we're saying mitzvahs is the ultimate mitzvah because we're putting ourselves in a position where we have to do it rather than trying to get out of it. But then I said, maybe it's because it represents the pipeline. He said, yeah, but why does it have to be strings? It could be anything. And I said, I think it represents that. The pipeline, because every mitzvah you do, firstly, it's a pipeline, but secondly, with a string, if you shake it from the top, then it affects the bottom. But also, if you shake it from the bottom, it affects the top. So mitzvahs affect the supernal worlds. Whenever we do mitzvahs, we're bringing more light into that. We're giving Hashem more power, so to speak, to bring light into our world. It's a two-way thing. That's why I think it's a string. How do you create the vessel? What is the vessel to receive the immense divine light and energy pumping into the world at that time? The mitzvah. The mitzvah of the day is the vessel to receive the light that's coming into the world at that time. That's exactly what a mitzvah is. So on Pesach, the mitzvah to receive the light of freedom is matzah. By eating matzah, you're opening yourself up, you're making a vessel to receive that divine light. So if you're meditating in a temple in Nepal and having an out-of-body experience on the 15th of Nisan, it might feel very wonderful and spiritual and amazing. I speak out of experience, by the way. If you're not eating matzah, you're missing it. You're a lovely person and spiritual and amazing and Hashem loves you. But you didn't build the vessel to receive the ultimate level. That's what the mitzvah is. By the way, if you shake a lulav and etrog on the 15th of Nisan, you didn't do anything. In fact, it would be a bit weird. You just got some leaves and a lemon. And that's a very strange thing to do, actually. Very strange. So on Rosh Hashanah, what's the vessel to receive the light of Rosh Hashanah? Shofar. And it's really that shape as well, to receive that light. Sukkot, what's the vessel to receive the light of Sukkot? So it's the Sukkah and the Daled Minim. What is the vessel to receive the light of Hanukkah? The Chanukiah. And what is the Chanukiah? Light! So the vessel is light itself. The vessel is light itself. So you got the light of Hanukkah is the light of light, and the vessel to receive the light of light is light. There's a lot of light going on here. There's a lot of light happening. Now there's immense flooding. The world is flooded with spiritual light. And this is a reality. It's a spiritual reality. Now you might not see it or even experience it. And this is a very, very important thing in your Avodas Hashem. Is that even if you can't feel that spiritual light, just knowing it's there is amazing. Just say, you know what, Hashem, I can't feel this amazing spiritual light that's flooding into my neshama right now, but I know it's there. That's it. You just breathe and you say, I know it's there. It's a very, very, very high level. Because some people, when they hear shiurim and they get excited, they're like, hold on, I just lit a candle. And then it was like, that didn't do anything, you know. Someone came to my house, very bad, very bad attitude. One of my students in the yeshiva, and he was just a bad attitude. He came to my house for Shabbos, and then at some point during the meal, he went up to the light switch and said, hey, Rabbi, so what do you think would happen if I pressed the light switch? So I said, I think the light would go off. He was like, oh. Now, what would happen in the supernal spiritual worlds? I think something would happen there. It's like people think the little details are just stupid, get in the way. So I thought of this example. Imagine I write a 10,000 word essay on my computer and then my little brother comes and just switches off the computer. And you hadn't saved it. There was no cloud there. And you start freaking out. What did you do? And he says, what do you mean? I just pressed the button. You just turned the computer off. Yeah, but you don't realize that by pressing a button, turn the computer off, I just lost 10,000 words of it. So turning off a light on Shabbos, you don't realize it's having unbelievable things are going on. So there are amazing things going on. So just to open yourself up and say, okay, Hashem, and I like that. Famous story of the Kotzker Rebbe. Was it him actually said it? I think it was him or his student, but these two Hasidim were arguing, and one said, my Rebbe is so holy, he can actually see the Ushpizin in his sukkah. The Ushpizin are the 7 holy guests that come to visit the sukkah on Sukkot. Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. So he said, he can actually see them. So the other one said, well, my Rebbe is holier. He can't see them, but he knows they're there. That's good. So just on your level, so just be open to trying to open yourself up to feeling that energy. And how do you do that? By yearning and doing the mitzvahs. So now we're going to shift. I want to learn a little bit from this book. An amazing book called Bayam Darkecha. All about, this one's all about Hanukkah. Have you heard of the Sfirot? There are 10 divine energies through which the universe were created. 10 divine energies, 3 of them intellectual energies, Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat. Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat really means knowledge, understanding, and awareness. I'll give you lots of classes on that, but just for now, knowledge, understanding, awareness. That's where Chabad get their name from, Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat, Chabad. That's where they get CBD from, different levels of divine wisdom. Then you have 7 emotional ones, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, and Malchut. Loving kindness, boundaries, and Shalom, strength. Tiferet is harmony and beauty. Netzach is perseverance, victory. Hod is acknowledgement and surrender. Yesod is the foundation. Malchut is kingship. What is the energy, our sages teach us, that's coming into the world on Hanukkah? So for example, Pesach is Chesed. Pesach is Avram's festival. So if you don't know what energy, what Sphira is related to the word sapir, which was sapphire. So it's a shining light. So which one of these supernal divine energies is coming into the world? So our sages teach us it's the energy of Hod. Now if you didn't know that, by the way, you go through your 8 days of Hanukkah not knowing that Hod is what we're meant to be tapping into these times. So what is Hod? We have to understand the energy of Hod. So what words do you know which have the root Hod? Hoda? Hoda means gratitude. Hoda means gratitude. What's the first thing we say in the morning? Maida'ani. It's from the word Hod. It comes to the word, this is where Yehuda got his name from. They were so grateful that she had another child. So she said, Hoda. This is where the word Yehudi comes from, by the way. A Jew comes from the word Hod. It really means gratitude. There's another word, and this really teaches us the deep significance of Hod, is vidui. Have you heard of the word vidui? Vidui is confession. So what have confession and gratitude got in common? Sounds like almost the opposite. Gratitude is thank you, confession is I messed up. So what they have in common, and this is really the translation of Hod on a deeper level, is acknowledgement. Maide'ani, or Hodaya, or gratitude is, I acknowledge that you did something good for me. It's called Hakarat Hatov. Gratitude in Hebrew is called Hakarat Hatov, which means I recognize the good. I recognize that you did something good for me. Vidui is, I recognize, I acknowledge that I did something bad. So it's the same idea of acknowledge. I'm acknowledging something. So we know that Hanukkah is all about lehodot u'lehalel. Lehodot, why are we having Hanukkah? Lehodot u'lehalel, which means to recognize, to acknowledge, and to praise. After you light the candles in the night, it's the only festival really where the mitzvah is at night. Even Pesach, our sages teach us, is really a day. It looks like night, but it's a day. We'll talk about that when we get to Pesach. It's the only real mitzvah that we're doing at night. What do you do during the day on Pesach, on Hanukkah? Do you just light at night, have a donut, play with the dreidel, and then that's it? Then nothing during the day? See, Hanukkah is probably the most covered up festival. It's the most hidden festival. It's the only one that doesn't have a Masechta in the Gemara. Purim has Megillah. Rosh Hashanah has Rosh Hashanah. Pesach has Pesachim. Yom Kippur has Yuma. Sukkot has Sukkah. They all have Masechta. Hanukkah is very hidden. It's very covered up. There's just got a few pages in the middle of Shabbat. Few pages in the middle of Shabbat. That's why, by the way, it's in Kislev. What does Kislev mean? Kis means kisui. It means covered up. And Lev is 36. 36 candles, 36 lights. So Kislev is a very, very hidden light that's going on. It's at the end of the month. It's the only festival that starts at the end of the month. Yom Kippur on the 10th day, Rosh Hashanah on the 1st of the month, everything else on the 15th of the month. It starts at the end of the month, and we'll see tomorrow, but it goes into the beginning of the next month. But it's a very, very hidden light that's coming into the world at this point. Allahu Akbar. That is great. What else about Hanukkah? It's the only mitzvah that the Rambam calls Chaviva Ad Me'ad, very beloved. It's a very, very beloved mitzvah. So, what does Hod really mean? Hod is that I'm acknowledging. So what is the thing that we do during the day on Hanukkah? Anyone know? Yeah? We say Hallel. We say Hallel in davening every day. Well, we sing it. We go wild. We are Hallaling. We're going crazy. We're praising Hashem. Now, why do we praise Hashem? We said this before in our Tefillah series. We're not praising Hashem because Hashem needs praise. He's not insecure. He's not egotistical. We're praising Hashem because we want to. What's the root of praise? The root of praise is acknowledgement. It's like, oh my goodness, look at trees. Look at my hand. Look at life. Just the root of praise is acknowledgement. So lahodot ulahalel means I acknowledge all the miracles in my life, and obviously it's the time of miracles. Hanukkah is the time of miracles. I acknowledge all the miracles, and therefore that brings me to a state of wonder. That's what praise really is. I'm in a state of, I'm walking around in a state of God consciousness. On a deeper level, what does Hod mean? This is where it's going to get a bit psychedelic now. You've got to stay with me. What is it that we're really, really trying to acknowledge? What are we trying to see with this Or Haganos, with this hidden light? What we're trying to do is acknowledge during the day as well, because Hanukkah is not just in the night, it's during the day. We're trying to see through the external layer of reality. We're trying to see through the external layer of reality. That means a few different things. Firstly, it means, as we just said before, that this table, this stender, is made of light, of consciousness. So to be able to, not physically, but just to start trying to acknowledge and recognize that the whole universe is just basically a simulation. We're in the matrix, but the matrix isn't made up of numbers, okay? It's made up of Hebrew letters, actually. So we're living in this simulation. So how we spoke about it last week, I think, was, where are we in comparison to Hashem? Hashem's infinite consciousness, then Hashem created the universe. Where was the universe created? Outside of Hashem? Is there Hashem and then the universe? No, you can't be outside of infinite. So where are we? Where are we right now? So if you say something, where is Hashem? So Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is here. Hashem is there. Hashem is really everywhere. Up, up, down, down, right, left, right. Hashem is everywhere. Which is one of the reasons why we call Hashem Hamakom. Hashem is the place. Because we are in Hashem, so to speak. Not only is Hashem in the universe, but the universe is in Hashem. That's obvious. And the other reason Hashem is called Hamakom is because wherever you go, everywhere you go, that Makom, Hashem is everywhere we go. But how does that work? How can the universe be in Hashem? How can you have a finite physical reality in an infinite conscious reality? So here, this is a game we played it last week. We're going to play it again. Everyone here, think of an animal. Think of an animal, any animal. You choose the animal. Giraffe, elephant. Now you're all thinking of giraffes and elephant. Think of an animal and it's wearing a hat. You got a hat? Any color. Good? What animal?
Dog.
A what? Yeah. Dog. What color's the hat? Nice. What animal? Horse. What color's the hat?
White.
Question. You have an animal in your head that's wearing a hat. Correct. Does that animal exist? The animal has to exist, otherwise you couldn't describe it. Is it a big dog or small dog?
Small.
What color?
Brown.
Great. So in order to say it's small brown, it must exist in your head though. So where does it exist? It exists in your head. Nice? That's where it exists. Now if you stop thinking about it, it will stop existing. The second you stop thinking about your animal, it stops existing. So our sages teach us that basically we exist in Hashem's head, so to speak, in Hashem's consciousness. Hashem basically, what is the creation? The creation is Hashem thought the universe into being. That's it. Really what he did, he took his thought and he brought it out into reality. That's why we say Hashem spoke and the world came into being. He spoke and it came into being. What is speech? You have thought is internal, action is external. What is speech? Speech is bringing the internal into the external. So did God actually say, let there be light? Don't think he did. Maybe, by the way, there could have been a big voice going out. But what it means is, speech means I'm taking my thought and I'm bringing it out into reality. So that's what it did. So Hashem now is imagining us. So the world is made, that makes sense now for you quantum physicists. The world is made up of consciousness. What is the animal in your head made of? Consciousness. It's made of consciousness. That is the material of the animal in your head is consciousness. Cool, no? So that's what we are. We're all just in Hashem's imagination, Hashem's consciousness. It's cool. Psychedelic. You don't even need ayahuasca, you need Torah. Question. What's the difference between the animal in your head and us in Hashem's head? Pardon? Yes, that's a symptom of the difference. But what's the fundamental... So the animal in your head doesn't have free will. But why not?
Not physical.
Well, nothing's physical. Physical isn't real.
We're not physical.
No. Well, we seem physical. But yes. So the difference is, beautiful. So the difference is, Hashem gave us something that you can't give the animal in your head. A piece of himself. And what is that? Consciousness. You have consciousness. The animal in your head doesn't have consciousness. It's made of consciousness. It doesn't have consciousness. It can't think. The animal in your head can't stop and say, oh my goodness, I'm an animal in Delbert's head. Can't do that. Can never have self-awareness. You can have self-awareness and be like, oh my goodness, I'm a finite aspect of infinite consciousness. That's pretty cool. That's really what you are. So, that means you have free will. So you can go against Hashem. Can your animal do something you don't want it to do? Can that dog in your head suddenly jump out the window if you don't want it to? No. You thinking it is making it jump out the window. But we can do things that God doesn't want us to do. Amazing. That's the whole of reality, just to become God conscious. What does it mean to become God conscious? Become self-aware. That is what God consciousness is. It's self-awareness. So what we're trying to do on Hanukkah, and it's easier during Hanukkah, we should do it all the time, easier during Hanukkah, is to try and see through the external world and see the actual light. Everything's made of this light. And then that means, by the way, seeing through yourself. You're seeing through yourself and realizing that this body is literally just an earth suit. To survive on the moon, you need a spacesuit. For your neshama to survive in this simulated physical world, it needs an earth suit. It's called your body. That's what the guf is. So many people identify as their body. I'm tired, I'm hungry. Have you ever said, I'm tired or I'm hungry? That means you think you're a body, because neshamas don't get tired and hungry. Actually, neshamas get hungry for mitzvahs. Next time you say you're hungry, you should be like, I need to make a bracha. I'm hungry, bring me a gemara. I'm hungry, I just want to give tzedakah. I'm hungry. So the ani, that's why the very first thing in the morning we say, what's the first thing we say in the morning? Maide ani, I acknowledge myself. I acknowledge that there's a self. I acknowledge that I'm a soul. Then I can be lefanecha. Then I'm in front of Hashem. Once I've recognized that I'm just really a soul, you can't be really in front of Hashem in a body. You can, and it's nice, and you should daven, and it's very nice. But really, being deeply conscious of Hashem comes where you release the external body, and that's what the candle is. The candle that you're lighting represents your neshama. That is your neshama. It really represents the lowest level of your neshama. It represents the nefesh. It's the part of your neshama that's really connecting spirituality to physicality. That's why at the end of creation it says Shabbat vayinafash. What does vayinafash mean? You put the nefesh in it. He connected physical and spiritual together. That's why you'll see that the candle, your flame is going to be made up of a flame, a ner, and a wick, patil, and oil, shemen. Ner, patil, shemen spells nefesh. The first three letters spell nefesh. So when you light your candles, you're literally lighting up even that lowest kind of physical enlivening force within you. You're lighting that up to see, I'm just seeing through the whole of reality. That's what you're trying to do. And that's what the energy of Hod. Hod is obviously the 8th sphere. Chachma Bina Das, Chesed Gevura Tiferet Netzach Hod. It's the 8th one because it's seeing beyond nature. That's what we're doing. We're seeing beyond nature. And that's what the candles are representing. Good? Passion. So now once you do that, I didn't even get to open the book. It is the 8th one. And that's why, by the way, what do we light with? We light with Shemen. Shemen is Shmone, is 8. Who are the people who fought the Greeks? The Hashmonaim, the Shemen people. The people of 8, the Shmone people. And obviously Shemen, Shmone, is the same letters as Neshama and Mishnah and all of these things. So we're tapping into this much higher level of being. I'm actually going to read from the book now. When you understand that actually there's a unified field theory, which well done, quantum physics came to 4,000 years later, there's all Hashem. Once you understand that everything's just made up of Hashem, you understand and you feel, then you start actually realizing that any energy I have, the energy flowing my body, even to go against Hashem, is from Hashem. What's making your legs move? When you walk, what's making your legs move? Firstly, it's just your ratson. I still don't understand this. I'm still freaked out. I know I say it in every class. I'm still freaked out. I want to lift up my arm now. How did that work? How did the desire... Well, I know there's neurons and it sent a message to your system, but how does a desire, which is just a kind of emotional state, make my hand go up? That's very crazy. And what's keeping your legs moving? What's keeping your legs alive? Cells. What's keeping cells alive? Mitochondria. What's keeping mitochondria alive? What's keeping the whole system alive? Where's all your energy coming from? What's the source of all energy? You? Hashem. Yep, that's right. It's called your nefesh. So when you're walking, by the way, so I do this sometimes, it's a bit trippy, but you should just feel like you're almost like a robot and it's just the divine force. You're plugged in. Imagine you're plugged in and someone gave me an example. Let's say you have an operation and then you leave the operation and they say, good news, bad news. Good news is it was a success. You're going to live. Bad news is this guy behind you, he's going to have to pump your heart. So he's going to walk around with you all the time, pump your heart. You'd be very nice to that guy, by the way. If the guy said to you, you know what, could you give me 10% of your income? You'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll give you 20%. So Hashem's keeping your heart beating every second. He says, give 10%. You're like, can I give 5%? He's like, no, give 20% if you want. So we've got to understand we're on a basically divine respirator life force system. And that's why it says, everything we do is just coming from this power of Hashem. We say every morning, Kol hanshama tehalelka, haleluka. Every soul praises you, Hashem. Tehalel. We're coming up to Halel. Lahodot Halel. And the Midrash says, Bekol neshima v'neshima. With every breath you take, every move you make, every single day, every time you pray, you should thank Hashem. Every time you breathe in, that's basically literally your life force flooding back into you at that moment. One day you're going to breathe out and not breathe in again. That's going to be it. Which means that every breath you take in, you come alive. It's a new life. Every breath. Alive again. So you should be thanking Hashem. Oh my goodness, I'm alive again. I'm alive again. You should try this. I tried it once for 5 minutes. It was it's difficult. Try it. Start breathing very deeply. And then I breathe out and I actually hold my breath until I can't hold it anymore. And then I'm like, well, life force flooding back into my system. I'm alive. This is why I speak to lots of people who are converting. I'm very jealous of them. So I say, when you go to the mikveh, don't just go in and come out. Don't do any mitzvah like that, by the way. Just do it. Go into the mikveh as a non-Jew. And then you're going to go under the water and hold your breath as long as you possibly can. Breathe out. And then when you explode out of the water, that is your Jewish neshama. Neshima is breath. Your neshama is now flooding into you. You've now become a Jew. I think the rabbinot now know who came through me, but there you go. So I do that every morning in the mikveh. I do that. I'm being new. I'm coming alive. So this is lahadat to lahalel. So that's a basic understanding of what's happening on Hanukkah. Tomorrow we're going to now start looking into the halacha, but how the halacha teaches us the deeper what we're meant to be thinking. We're going to look at the brachas. What brachas are we going to say? What kavanah you're going to have when you say the brachas? How you're going to prepare yourself? And then once you understand it and yearn for it, then you'll be able to actually embody the divine light that's coming down into the world on that day. Any questions? No, I wouldn't think so. Go onto the roof now for 5 minutes and look at the beautiful, we're in the holiest place on the face of the planet. Leave your phones here. Go onto the roof and just breathe. And we're in Yerushalayim. We're in the most holy place on the face of the planet. Where it all happened, by the way. Hanukkah happened over there. 50 meters from there. That's where the whole story began. Go on then. Phones up.